All right, coming up on today's show, we take a look at 18 running backs that the Bears could conceivably acquire between now and week 1. But I want to ask you guys first, do the Bears need to add a running back? Type Y for yes, they do, or type N for no, they don't. I'm Harrison Graham. This is Chicago Bears Now. Running back has obviously been a big topic for this team all offseason. We talked about Ashton Jeanty for months. That obviously did not happen. We explored Quinshon Judkins, Caleb Johnson, Travion Henderson, the day 2 running backs. That did not happen either. They did draft Kyle Monangai in round 7. Shout out producer Cullen, his first draft crush. But let's face it, there is still a thought that maybe the Bears need to add another running back. So on today's show, I explore some guys via free agency, trade, and then some potential surprise cuts that could happen between now and week 1 for the Bears to potentially add a running back to this roster. Okay, let's take a look at some free agents first, and the teams listed below are the team they played on this past year. Obviously, Nick Chubb, we've talked about him multiple times at this point. The question with him is he fully healthy? Certainly looks healthy in workouts, but it's one thing to do weight training. It's another thing to plant your foot in the ground, cut, accelerate, all that stuff. And if he is healthy, what Nick Chubb are we getting? Are we getting close to all-pro Pro Bowl guy, or is it more like last year where he's kind of underwhelming and, he's probably not going to average more than like 3.5, 3.8 yards per carry? How about somewhere in the middle? Can he be a fringe starter level back where he's part of a rotation, good in short yardage, can still see the hole, hit the hole, all that stuff. So I would bring him in for a workout. I've mentioned that. I would do a medical check, and if things check out, I would make him a mild offer of like $3 million with incentives up to 5 or something like that. Okay, JK Dobbins, I think these are the 2 clear top free agent running backs. Dobbins had a nice little bounce back campaign with the Chargers last year. His first 2 games, he popped off back-to-back 100-yard games, didn't hit the 100-yard mark the rest of the season. So hard to know what to make of that. He does have a history of injuries as well. Still only 26 years old. I think in this system he could be pretty productive, catches the ball pretty well also out of the backfield. So you can do some things in the passing game with him. Also gives you a little more physicality than DeAndre Swift does. But I do think a healthy Nick Chubb probably checks more boxes in terms of what you're looking for to mesh with DeAndre Swift than J.K. Dobbins does. But Dobbins likely has a little bit more juice at this point in his career. Pick one to sign. If you could pick one, who would you rather have? Type NC for Nick Chubb or J.K. for J.K. Dobbins. If Chubb passed a physical exam, I think I would go for the upside signing there because I do like Kyle Monangai. I think he's going to be able to help this year. You still have Roschon Johnson, so I would probably lean Nick Chubb, but I wouldn't mind J.K. Dobbins by any means. Okay, Gus Edwards, who is also with the Chargers, who obviously spent several years with Baltimore as well. Physical runner. I think he's more of just a short yardage guy at this point. He can't really play on third downs, but that doesn't mean you couldn't sign him. Swift obviously can play on third down, so can Roschon Johnson. So, again, I think Gus Edwards is the fill in the blank. Is he better than Roschon Johnson? Yes or no? If the answer is no, you don't sign him. If you think he is, okay, he's probably worth bringing in. Okay, Jamal Williams is an interesting one that we haven't really talked about much because, quite frankly, the last 2 years in New Orleans, he's been pretty underwhelming overall. But the Saints have had a variety of issues, offensive line injuries, etc. Let's go back to 2022 when Ben Johnson took over as the full-time play caller in Detroit. Jamal Williams had a pretty damn good year, right? Over 4 yards per carry. It's the last year he averaged over 4 yards per carry, 17 touchdowns. Now, again, a lot of that was goal line merchant, but he was pretty effective with the current Bears head coach. Best year of his career. Now, I don't think any of us would expect 1,000 yards out of Jamal Williams. I don't think I even want that. Like, if you sign Jamal Williams, I hope he doesn't go for 1,000. That probably means he became your best back, and that is not an ideal scenario. But could he have similar effect per touch on less touches, right? I think it said 266 carries. If he had 125 carries, could he give you 4 to 4.3 yards per carry, give you a handful of touchdowns? Well, okay. Like, you could be talking about a productive part of your running back rotation. Am I convinced that can happen? No, I have him lower on the list. But given the familiarity with the Ben Johnson, I am at least intrigued by it if they bring him in. Okay, Cam Akers, a guy I've kind of always liked. He's had an up-and-down career. He's torn his Achilles twice, but he seemingly has bounced back from that. He averaged 4.3 yards per carry. Just kind of seems like wherever he is, he's just kind of solid, right? Like, he seems scheme-proof. So I'm intrigued by him. He'd be a vet minimum signing, I would assume, as well. So if you kind of want to buy low on a decent player, limited ceiling, but you kind of know what you're getting, Cam Akers could fill that void. I think he's still only 25, too. Okay, coming up next, we'll take a look at some running backs the Bears could acquire via trade. 3 notable names, and then we'll kind of get to some smaller names of small trades or guys who could get cut after training camp that the Bears could look to add. But first, I do want to tell you guys about our awesome sponsor. That, of course, is Rocket Money. Are you looking to grow your savings? Are you looking to scale back on your spending? Sometimes when it comes to spending, it's just out of sight, out of mind. Daily coffee habit, streaming subscriptions, it adds up fast without you even noticing. Rocket Money helps you spot those patterns so you can do something about them and keep more money in your pockets. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Smart money moves are all about getting more out of every dollar. With Rocket Money, you can easily find forgotten subscriptions and have them negotiate bills for you. Putting money back into your pocket help grow those savings. With those savings, by the way, Rocket Money practically pays for itself. It has over 5 million users, Rocket Money does, and has saved customers a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions alone, saving members up to $740 per year when they use all the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions today and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. It's rocketmoney.com/bearsnow. rocketmoney.com/bearsnow. Use our link. It'll redirect you to the App Store to download the app. It helps support the show. One more time, link is in the comments and description of this video, rocketmoney.com/bearsnow. Okay, let's reveal both Seattle boys at once. Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet, we've alluded to both these guys on a couple of occasions here because there was that report before the draft that Seattle could be open to trading one of Walker or Charbonnet. You start with Walker here. He's had a pretty good 3 years. Now, what does concern me a little bit, and last year, I'm not giving them a pass for this, but their O-line was kind of a mess with injuries, especially on the interior, which is why they drafted multiple interior guys. But his yards per carry has declined each year, down to 3.7 yards per carry last season. So I do think that is a valid concern. I don't think he's like hit a wall as a player. He's still pretty young in his career, but can he get back behind a good offensive line, which we think the Bears will have, to at least being in the low mid-4s? I think that's something you would hope for. You see it, guys bounce back in a new situation all the time. Josh Jacobs, people were calling him cooked a couple years ago, goes to Green Bay, has a career year. So it's not like he has 10 years of NFL experience and mileage on him. So I still think he can be effective, but that is something to point out. Charbonnet, who's played 2 seasons in the NFL, so he's got 2 years left in his deal. Walker has 1. He's kind of just been steady, right? Like last year got a little more volume in terms of touches. I think 4.2 yard per carry his rookie year, 4.3 last year. So he's been pretty steady. He's also pretty effective as a pass catcher, 75 catches in 2 years, over right at 550 yards. He had 9 touchdowns last year total compared to 1 in his rookie year. So I do think he's ascending as a player. Now, how high can he get? Can he be a true lead back? I think he could be more of like a 1A, 1B situation, which is what it could be in Chicago. And we've kind of talked about this on some of our live shows because our producer Cullen is a Seahawks fan. It kind of feels like someone's going to be the odd man out. Because unless Damian Martinez, there were those reports of immaturity, unless he just doesn't pick up the playbook, which as a running back typically isn't that difficult, or is just immature, they just don't trust him. I feel like him, Walker, and Charbonnet are it's kind of redundant. They're all pretty physical backs. Kenny McIntosh, I think they're going to keep because he's more of that change of pace scat back. So, like, if Martinez isn't a question mark, it feels like one of Walker or Charbonnet is going to be out. Now, of course, they could keep all 4, but you're not giving touches to 4 backs, so it feels kind of redundant to me, especially if they could get a draft pick for one of them. So I'll just ask you, who would you rather trade for? Type KW for Kenneth Walker, ZC for Zach Charbonnet. I still like Walker's upside overall better, but he does have 1 less year on his rookie deal, so it's kind of a tough call. My answer is I'd probably just take who's ever cheaper. Like if one guy costs a fourth and the other guy costs a sixth, I'll just take the guy who costs a sixth because I think both guys have proven they can be part of a 1-2 punch, whether they're the 1 or the 2. And you bring that guy in with DeAndre Swift. If it's Charbonnet, he's probably the 2. If it's Walker, he's probably the 1 with Swift as the 2. Doesn't really matter. They're both going to play a lot. So that would be my thought. KW for Kenneth Walker, ZC for Zach Charbonnet. And then I do want to touch on Breece Hall. I do think this one's less likely than one of the Seahawks boys at this point in time, but there was a lot of buzz heading into the draft that they could be open to trading Breece Hall. Really good player. I don't know if he's quite reached his potential. I think a lot of that's just playing with the Jets. That offense has been kind of a joke. We'll see how he plays this year, assuming he stays on the Jets. But dynamic ability as a 3-down back. I do think you could make a strong case that out of these 3 players, he could still be the most capable moving forward if he's in the right situation. Now, Brad Biggs of the Tribune had an interesting note on this, and I do kind of tend to agree. He said, I don't see how moving Hall after the draft makes sense for the Jets or makes them better. Had they chosen a running back high in the draft, maybe something could have materialized, but they didn't. I'm skeptical they would make him available at this point. He also mentioned that with the draft pick of Armin Mimbu and bringing in Justin Fields, like they're going to run the ball a lot, and he's their best running back still, even though Braylon Allen showed a lot last year. I kind of agree with Brad. Had they taken it back on in the second or third round, like a Judkins or Henderson or even like a Caleb Johnson, I'd be like, okay, I could see them moving him, but you're going to move Breece Hall and roll with Braylon Allen, and I don't even know who their third back is. I think that's pretty unlikely. I think the Jets are going to keep him. They're going to try to be competitive this year, and if Hall has a big year, they'll extend him. If not, then he probably just walks in free agency next year. But I do think given the volume of players in each running back room, Seattle trading one of those top 2 guys feels much more likely than the Jets trading Breece Hall, and they're certainly not going to trade Braylon Allen coming off a good rookie year. Subscribe to the channel. We got Bears videos all year long, so hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications. We got you guys covered here on the show. All right, we've covered 5 free agents, 3 notable trade names. Now let's look at some cheap trade options / potential cuts. I could have put Travis Etienne into the last category, but I think the Jags kind of tipped their hand when they drafted 2 running backs in LaQuint Allen in the 7th round and Bashal Tutin in the 4th. If they like both those players, are they going to keep Etienne and Tank Bigsby as well? Etienne's kind of underwhelmed the last couple of years, so I think he could be available. I think there's a lot of skill set overlap with DeAndre Swift, but if it was cheap, I'd be open to it. Dameon Pierce is an interesting one. Physical downhill runner, had a really good rookie year. The last couple of years have been a little choppy. They drafted Woody Marks, so you could maybe get him for like a late-round pick swap. Blake Corum, they are expected to extend Kyron Williams. They also drafted, remind me, Cullen, who did the Rams? Jarquez Hunter, who's kind of a juiced-up running back. So Corum, who's more of a kind of a grinder, physical runner, could be made available. Zamir White with the Raiders, who underwhelmed as a starter last year, but I think in a rotation could be effective. He could be a cut, so you could potentially get him for free. Jerome Ford would likely be a late-round pick swap in a trade, but they just drafted 2 backs, so he could be available. Antonio Gibson, again, more of a scat receiving back, so I don't know if he makes sense. I love Kendre Miller coming out, little TCU bias. I don't think that one happens because there was a lot of reporting when Dennis Allen was the head coach there that he and Miller did not get along. I know Ben Johnson overrides him, but I would imagine that the intel he gets from Dennis Allen on Miller is not very good, so don't think that one would happen. Rashad White, Tampa's got a crowded room with Bucky Irving and Sean Tucker. Maybe Rashad White becomes available. Devin Singletary, they drafted Cam Scadaboo. They have Tyrone Tracy, so he could be the odd man out. And then Zach Moss in Indy as well. They signed Khalil Herbert, and they drafted DJ Giddens. So in addition to Jonathan Taylor, Zach Moss could be a guy that potentially could be available, and he's a pretty solid physical downhill runner. All right, that is going to do it for this edition of Chicago Bears Now. Appreciate everybody for tuning in to today's show. Give me a follow on social media at HGramNFL on Instagram and on Twitter if you want more Bears content.